Hello. Welcome back to Chapter 12 of The Way of the Superior Man. Be willing to change everything in your life. Ooh. A man must be prepared to give 100% to his purpose, fulfill his karma or dissolve it, and then let go of that specific form of living. He must be capable of not knowing what to do with his life, entering a period of unknowingness and waiting for a vision or a new form of purpose to emerge. These cycles of strong specific action, followed by periods of not knowing what the hell is going on, are natural for a man who is shedding layers of karma in his relaxation into truth. Ooh, what a beautiful paragraph. Um, and I love this part, give 100% and then let go. Because that's hard sometimes when we give everything, we end up getting attached to a certain way of being. And this chapter really talks about how we give our all, and then when it no longer feels like right for us anymore, we have to completely let go of it. Um, so, giving our all with no attachment. And sometimes that's even easier because when we give our best to something, then there's no regrets. There's nothing more we can give, nothing less we can give. We just give it up to God after giving our everything. Another part I really like is entering a period of unknowingness and waiting for a new purpose to emerge. I think in our society right now, we're very focused on being driven and having a purpose and knowing where we're going. But there's these cycles of strong, specific action followed by periods of not knowing. That's part of it. Sometimes we don't know what we're going to do next, and it's just important to trust the universe and that the vision will come when it's time. So I really, really like that Deida brought that up. I also really like how he talked about shedding karma. A lot of times we do things that may seem totally strange or weird or unnecessary, but they're part of fulfilling or dissolving our karma. And with every karma that is dissolved or that we fulfill, we become lighter and freer, more able to give truly from our core. As you open yourself to living at your edge, your deepest purpose will slowly begin to make itself known. In the meantime, you will experience layer after layer of purposes, each one getting closer and closer to the fullness of your deepest purpose. It is as if your deepest purpose is at the center of your being, and it is surrounded by layers of concentric circles, each circle being a lesser purpose. Your life consists of penetrating each circle from the outside toward the center. I really like this paragraph too, because a lot of times we don't know our purpose. Uh, do I know what my deepest purpose is? Probably not, but I do know what I've focused on, what my vision is right now. Um, and I like that as you open yourself to living at your edge, and that goes back to one of the previous videos about living on the edge. Right? That's kind of the zone between comfort and discomfort, just where we're pushing ourselves and challenging ourselves, but not going crazy and not living in comfort. And that is what will help our purpose emerge. So I love that. I also love that he mentions that there's layers to our purpose. Um, and that's certainly been my own experience. Right, when I first graduated high school, my purpose was very different as I continued through the years and continued to take action and peel away kind of the layers of the onion to what will most deeply fulfill my core. The outer purposes are often the purposes you have inherited or learned from your parents and your childhood experiences. Perhaps your father was a fireman, so you wanted to be a fireman, or, in reaction to him, you've decided to be an arsonist. In any case, the outer circles, the purposes you often apply yourself to early in life, are most likely only distant approximations of your deepest purpose. I like that. So we all have outer purposes, a lot of times shaped by society, right? Nice car, nice house, financial freedom. Those kind of things are great. and they can give us drive, but they're not necessarily what we truly deeply desire. And not that it's wrong to pursue it, as this next paragraph will go into. If your deepest purpose is to meditate and realize God, you might find that before you can totally dedicate yourself to this practice, you must work your way through the concentric circles of playing with sexual partners, using drugs, getting married, raising children, developing a career, and finally, having dissolved your fascination and need to do all of that, getting down to the business of full-time meditation. And I love this paragraph. Like, Deida is just such an insightful and talented writer. Um, because it's easy to say, all is dust, don't chase anything external, not all of that stuff is meaningless, but there's a place for it. Like, there's a role that they play. It's our karma. We have to live through it, we learn through it, and then finally after we dissolve it, then we can truly relax into our deepest purpose. So I'm really feeling it, this paragraph here. And that's kind of how I'm feeling currently, right? Because my purpose is realizing God or divine love, or that, being able to connect with divine love at all times and radiate that to the world. And sure, I can spend all day in meditation, but right now I'm pulled towards exploring relationship, and pulled towards using psychedelic drugs. So, I perhaps need to run down those roads and explore and dissolve it and realize, oh, okay, these things are great, but they're not deeply fulfilling, but I need to experience it in order to fully let that go and dive into my true purpose. Anyways, that's how I interpret it. But I'm sure there's many valuable lessons to learn through these different forks in the road that we may find ourselves on. As you dissolve each layer and move toward the center, you will more and more be living from your deeper purposes, and then your deepest heart purpose, whatever that is, in every moment. However, you probably are not living your deepest purpose yet. You probably need to burn off the karma or fulfill the need of the present purpose by which you are fascinated and distracted. Let's see. And I think my notes here just, it's part of the process of peeling back the layers of the onion. It's not wrong or bad to chase materials or chase women or men. Just live it, enjoy it, be authentic to wherever your heart's pull is, because that's where the karma is. We don't need to over rationalize and say that's bad, right? There's some things that we need to live that can't be logically grasped. For example, there was a time that I thought my purpose was to work in government, to be an analyst and shape policy. And as as I lived that and burned through that, then I realized that's not what my deepest purpose was. And then I moved into teaching and moved into spirituality. But it was only through certain things that I had to experience first that I could get into that deeper level. It's easy to feel disappointed by life. Success is never as fulfilling as you think it's going to be. But there is a reason for this. Successfully completing a lesser purpose doesn't feel very good for very long, because it is simply preparation for advancing toward a greater embodiment of your deepest or your deeper purpose. Each purpose, each mission, is meant to be fully lived to the point where it becomes empty, boring, and useless. Then it should be discarded. This is a sign of growth, but you may mistake it for a sign of failure. And what a beautiful paragraph. I love it. Fulfillment of these lesser goals, they're important, but they're not ultimately what's going to be fulfilling for us, but they are stepping stones on the path. Um, and I loved what he says. I love what he says here about fully lived until it becomes empty, right? We're giving ourselves we're giving 100% to our life, in whatever direction we feel, until we hit that point where it's like, oh, okay, this doesn't feel so good anymore. Then I'm going to relax, drop it, wait for my new vision to come up. And it's interesting because something that felt so urgent before will feel empty once that karma is fulfilled. Um, and for me, that example will be like um, sex for a lot of people, right? A lot of times men might, be like doing their body count, chasing as many women as they can, and they realize up to a certain, it'll be very, very like interesting and engaging up to a point where it's like, oh, this type of connection isn't as meaningful as what I'm truly looking for, or something like that. And then that's the wall. Um, you might mistake it as a sign of failure because it's like, oh, I put all my time into this and now it's nothing. But actually, it's a sign of growth because it's like, okay, I've experienced all I need to experience and now I'm ready for something deeper. For instance, you may take on a business project, work at it for several years, and then suddenly find yourself totally disinterested. You know that if you stayed with it for another few years, you would reap much greater financial reward than if you left the project now. But the project no longer calls you. You no longer feel interested in the project. You have developed skills over the last few years working on the project, but it hasn't yet come to fruition. You may wonder, now that you have the skills, should you stick with it and bring the project to fruition, even though the work feels empty to you? Um, I really like this example because it's basically what my grad school experience was. But let's continue reading to see what he says. Well, maybe you should stick with it. Maybe you are bailing out too soon, afraid of success or failure, or just too lazy to persevere. This is one possibility. Ask your close men friends if they feel you are simply losing steam, wimping out, or afraid to bring your project to completion. If they feel you are bailing out too soon, stick with it. And a lot of times our friends are a lot more objective than we are. However, there is also the possibility that you have completed your karma in this area. It is possible that this was one layer of purpose which you have now fulfilled on the way to another layer of purpose, closer to your deepest purpose. So I love this. And that was grad school for me. Uh, I was really into it, and suddenly it's like, why am I doing this? Like, do I want to sit in front of spreadsheets all day? Is this really how I want to live my life? Is this all that there is to life? Uh, it could be, that's why I really like this part here, where it's the sign of growth, but you may mistake it for a sign of failure because, like, oh, did I pick the wrong profession? But no, it's just a karma that I had to fulfill. And I think the faster I'm able to let it go, the faster I can go to my deeper purpose. The more I stick to it, trying to bring it to fruition and reap those financial rewards, the longer it'll take for me to actually get into that deeper fulfillment because, financial rewards, sure, great, but it's really not deeply fulfilling in by any means. Um, let's see my notes here. Okay. So I really like that he listed 5 signs that you have fulfilled or completed a layer of purpose. I really like this. It can act as a roadmap. So among the signs of fulfilling or completing a layer of purpose are: number 1, you suddenly have no interest whatsoever in a project or mission that previously motivated you highly. Number 2, you feel surprisingly free of any regrets whatsoever for starting the project or for ending it. Number 3, even though you may not have the slightest idea of what you are going to do next, you feel clear, unconfused, and unburdened. Number 4, you feel an increase in energy at the prospect of ceasing your involvement with the project. Number 5, the project seems almost silly, like collecting shoelaces or wallpapering your house with gas station receipts. Sure, you could do it, but why would you want to? It's a tricky list. Especially number two, you feel surprisingly free of any regrets whatsoever. Um, because, do I regret going to grad school? Sometimes, but it was really a really important growth experience for me, even though I no longer work in my field at all. Um, I really like this. I don't have no idea what I was gonna do next after I finished grad school, but or after I quit certain jobs. I had no idea what I was gonna do next, but I knew that I needed a new path, and that's what felt right. I definitely felt the increase in energy. Um, Kind of goes back to the question, what feels heavy and what feels light. A lot of times, staying in a situation that's already past its time is heavy, and letting it go feels light. Project feels silly, yeah, definitely. Like a full time job now feels very silly to me. Like, sure, I could make money, but why? It's like it's not worth it anymore. But anyways, that's me in my current stage of my journey. Uh, but I just find this chapter very relevant and fascinating. If you experience these signs, it is probably time to stop working on this project. You must end your involvement impeccably, however, making sure there are no loose ends and that you do not burden anybody's life by stopping your involvement. This might take some time, but it is important that this layer of your purpose ends cleanly and does not create any new karma or obligation that will burden you or others in the future. I like this caveat that he added because a lot of times, I had the desire to like just drop, like there's jobs that I'm just done with. I just want to drop it and run away. But as a responsible, superior man, right, we have to have the intention of love with whatever action we're doing. And that means, being responsible, right? For jobs, I try to give 2 to 4 weeks of notice so that there's time to transition a new person in. Because otherwise, you're creating new karma, new baggage, new burdens, and you're not actually being freer or lighter or more relaxed. You're not actually clearing karma, you're creating new karma, which is going to add more problems down the road. The next layer of your unfolding purpose may make itself clear immediately. More often, however, it does not. After completing one layer of purpose, you might not know what to do with your life. You know that the old project is over for you, but you are not sure of what is next. At this point, you must wait for a vision. I really like this too. Um, because after I quit my jobs, I'm a little bit lost. I kind of go on like 1 to 3 months of kind of being lost of like, oh, what do I do now? Like, what do I really want to do with my life? Um, and it's terrifying because it's chaos, right? I prefer order. I want to know what's going on. I want to know what the plan is. But when I'm in chaos, it's stressful. It's like, what's going to happen with my life? Who am I going to be? But this is a part of the process. We can't skip it. You got to embrace the chaos, and out of the chaos, eventually, a new direction, a deeper vision will emerge. There is no way to rush this process. You may need to get an intermediary job to hold you over until the next layer of purpose makes itself clear. Or perhaps you have enough money to simply wait. But in any case, it is important to open yourself to a vision of what is next. You stay open to a vision of your deeper purpose by not filling your time with distractions. Don't watch TV or play computer games. Don't go out drinking beer with your friends every night or start dating a bunch of women. Simply wait. You may wish to go on a retreat in a remote area and be by yourself. Whatever it is you decide to do, consciously keep yourself open and available to receiving a vision of what is next. It will come. There are some things about this paragraph I agree with and some that I disagree with. I definitely agree that you shouldn't fill your time with distractions because the chaos is uncomfortable. The chaos of not knowing is uncomfortable. So we're going to try and escape through TV, games, drinking, relationships, but that just holds us back from finding our deeper purpose faster. Um, right? When we cut out distractions, when we stay connected to ourselves, that's when we can connect faster with what our purpose is. Do I think we have to go to a remote area? Probably not, because I found my purpose through trying different activities, trying different jobs, bouncing around until I realized that teaching is my calling. And to do that, I need to take action and try different things. So no, that's the only thing here. Like, maybe go to a remote area, but also, trying new things could be very helpful for seeing what our calling might be. When it comes, it usually won't be a detailed vision. You will probably have a sense of what direction to move in, but the practical steps might not make themselves clear. When the impulse begins to arise, act on it. Don't wait for the details. Learn by trial and error what it is you are to do. And this is very true. You're not going to get, this well written out 5-year plan of what you're going to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's just kind of this little nudge that you feel. It's like, oh, and the thing is, this nudge is easy to ignore, but we got to pay attention to it. That's why we can't have distractions. It's probably I feel like a little nudge, a little pull, but we don't really know what it is. And sometimes it tells us to do really crazy things, like quit a very well-paid job. But when it comes, it comes, and it might not be logical. There will be no details, but as long as we act on it, that will give us the feedback of where to go next. For instance, perhaps you were a stockbroker and then finished that particular layer of purpose. You saved up some money, so now you are waiting for a vision of your next layer. After 3 weeks of going crazy, not knowing what you're going to do with your life, you begin to feel that you want to work with people. You begin to fantasize about using your financial skills to help people set up their own businesses. You have a few friends who have great intentions to save the world. But they are lousy businessmen and can't seem to get off the ground. So you call them and offer your help. Ooh, I feel this one. Because that's what it was for me moving away from analyst work, even though I spent 10 years in university, getting that degree. That nudge, it was like, no, I'm meant to work with people, connect with people, not spreadsheets. Um, it took a while to wrestle with that a little bit, but the nudge will come. As you help them, you continually feel for the groove of your purpose. You might have a few false starts, but eventually you find that dozens of nonprofit groups are telephoning you, asking for your advice. It feels as if the universe is supporting you in this direction. You have no idea whether you can earn a living doing this, but it feels right for now. So you apply yourself fully to it. You give your gift 100% without holding anything back. Um, yeah, beautiful paragraph. Definitely will have a few false starts. So after I quit my analyst job, I want to work with people, customer service. That's usually minimum wage jobs. I started in car sales. I realized that it was too slimy, cutthroat. And then eventually I landed on teaching. And then kind of that was something I could apply myself fully to, give myself 100% to. I'd stay late after work, creating course plans, printing worksheets, not because I had to, but because I loved serving my students that way. Soon, a wealthy man finds out about what you're doing. He admires your total commitment and your orientation to serve others. He becomes your patron. Now you are set. You have a good income, you are doing what you really want to do, and you are helping others. You love what you do, so you generate love in those who come in contact with you. Your life feels full. And then, one day, a few years later, it is finished. This layer has dissolved. And then, excuse me, the cycle begins again and again until you have penetrated all the layers into your deepest purpose. Then you act fully until that purpose too is dissolved in the bliss of the love that you are. I really like that because as much as I enjoyed my teaching job, it ended. Um, and it felt like it was time for that job to end. Now, of course, I reminisce and think of the good times, but uh, I feel that this is my time now for learning. Um, and I want to fully dive into learning about spirituality. I feel like I'm in a chrysalis in a sense. I'm in my cocoon, and then eventually, as I grow and develop, then I can become emerge from the chrysalis as a butterfly teacher and be a much more effective teacher that way. And so that's where I feel like my karma has led me to right now. And maybe a few years later, or maybe a few decades later, the chrysalis will be completed. But who knows? Um, Let me just see if I have any other notes here to mention. Just trusting in the universe, trusting your gut, the nudges. You know, a lot of times the universe gives us signs. Things that seem to flow smoothly is probably the right track. Things that we're trying to do is always like resistance on every end. Probably might not be the right thing to do at this time. Um, oh yes. So it's like when I think about this paragraph, it reminds me of be like water. So we can flow 100% towards a destination. But once it's done, we're gonna divert and flow. We're not gonna. Water doesn't cling on to things. Okay? Water just flows, um, and it's smooth. And by flowing, we're gonna get closer and closer, deeper and deeper to our true purpose, what is most fulfilling to us. And as we do that, we feel fuller and fuller in our everyday lives because we're giving more and more of our gifts, giving more and more of our being until we're completely dissolved in selflessness, dissolved into becoming God's vehicle for divine love, to work divine love on this earth. But that's me, that's my perspective. I hope that this video has served you in some way. Any questions or comments, let me know. Thanks. Have a good day.